How's it going, guys? This is DragonStar Productions here, back with another video, and in this special edition of Dragon Ball What Ifs, we are going to be discussing a part 2 of a previous What If we've already done. And that part 2 is, what if Bardock killed Frieza? In part 1 of this What If, we've seen Bardock and the others were able to kill Frieza due to Bardock pushing himself past his limits and achieving the Super Saiyan transformation. After Frieza's death, however, a ship would arrive, and it was later informed by Bardock to be King Cold's ship. And I'll also leave a link down in the description, therefore you can get the video very easily. Alright, so this is where it takes off. Bardock would notice King Cold's ship coming into the atmosphere of the planet. Bardock tells Raditz and Gine to stay back as he walks outside the house, the ship now landing. As Bardock walks up, already there though is Vegeta and Nappa. But when the gate to the ship opens, there is no King Cold. Instead, thousands of men come rushing out. The Cold army attacked every Saiyan that was in sight. Some were able to hold their own, such as Bardock, Vegeta, Nappa, and Zorn. But the others, not so much. Eventually, the army would crash the engineering stations, messing with the Saiyan pods and the stuff like that. Beats was forced to fight with the very lack of skills that he had when it came to fighting. One soldier was actually about to kill Beats, but Bardock would come in and save him by knocking the man way back, followed with an energy wave taking out a group of army men as well. However, this wasn't the only challenge for Bardock and the Saiyans. Next thing they knew, Nappa was struck in the back by a knee. "Hello, Vegeta. How's your bodyguard?" This of course pissed the young Saiyan off. "Shut the hell up, Raccoon." And just so everyone is aware, the Ginyu's force power will be reduced in this What If, about half, because it isn't in the Namek Saga, it's a good bit before then. So Raccoon is around the power level about 21,000. This is still a lot for Vegeta, but before Raccoon would just deliver a full beating, Raditz would actually come in and save the day out of nowhere and start shooting Ki Blast at Raccoon. This was able to catch Raccoon off guard, so Vegeta is actually able to capitalize on the opportunity and shoot a Gallic gun right in the back of Raccoon. Sadly though, for Vegeta, this doesn't finish Raccoon off. Although Raccoon will be out of commission for a while, this doesn't mean he's out of the picture. Meanwhile, Zorn would be helping out some of the weaker Saiyans to get some of the soldiers off. But then he happens to run in the smallest member of the Ginyu force, Guldo, with a power level of 4,500, which is only a couple hundred more than Zorn's, so this was going to be a very good fight. Zorn would save a girl out of the air that Guldo was trying to trap with his telekinetic powers. Zorn would then rush towards Guldo with a right hook. Guldo was actually able to block his forearm. Zorn stays gun blazing, kicking and punching in 1,000 different directions, but Guldo is able to block every single one until Guldo's head just slides off of his body. Zorn will be in shock and kinda just standing there after what he just did. "You're such an idiot, Zorn," states Vegeta as he shakes his hand from an energy blast. Bardock though was focused on finding Ginyu and King Cold. Bardock was easily knocking through the men, just knocking them out, getting through, hurting them, killing some. But he eventually ran into a duo, not Captain Ginyu and King Cold. Instead, it was Bardock and Jace. They used their scouters to read Bardock's power level, and they were in shock, but at the same time knew the two of them would be able to do something. Bardock, though, is very irritated by this point because he can't find the two people that are giving him hell. He wants to find Ginyu and then Cold and finish all the nonsense at once. And he charges up into the Super Saiyan. The scouters on Bardock and Jace's head would then shatter, and they would be stunned. Bardock quickly darted in with a knee to the gut for Bardock, and then a back of the neck chop to Jace. He then turns back around and throws a final spirit cannon, his finishing move, wiping out the two. Bardock then would retreat back to his face form to consume energy, but Bardock would also continue his journey. But little did he know that Ginyu had already found his son, Raditz. Ginyu overpowered Raditz by an immense amount. Even with Nappa's help. However, Ginyu didn't kill the two. Ginyu just beat them down to where they couldn't move. Zorn flies over, but has very similar results. Ginyu grabs Zorn and throws him into one of the buildings. But Back onto the ship, Bardock had finally managed to sneak on. Bardock silently would run through the hallway, cracking a few skulls and snapping a few necks along the way. Bardock approached King Cold's main room. Finally, inside he heard King Cold talking to someone.
Frieza had died by the hands of a Super Saiyan. He had just gained the throne. I thought he was ready.
The voice then would reply back, "Your first mistake was putting Frieza in charge. He was too young and immature for the title of Emperor of the Universe." Cold would smirk and then look down and reply,
"Cooler, you are correct. I should remain head of this empire, like I belong."
This though catches Cooler off guard, and it actually enrages him, but instead of attacking or doing anything else, Cooler doesn't say a word. He just tilts his head down and walks out of the room, and in front of him when he walks out is none other than the Super Saiyan that killed his brother, Bardock. Bardock tried to throw a punch, but Cooler just catches his fist. "I believe your issue is with him," as he points to his father, King Cold. Bardock would be confused, but Cooler would just keep walking off of the ship and eventually flew off somewhere away from the fighting. Bardock, on the other hand, was able to finally now get face to face with King Cold.
"I'm glad you could join me, Bardock. I've heard such great things about you,"
sarcastically states Cold.
"I'm not here for talking. I'm here to save the Saiyans from your filthy hands,"
madly stated Bardock. The two would go silent and just lock eyes for a while, having an immense stare down. Cold would then start to transform without any warning, realizing that his son made this mistake by not transforming. His body began to reshape and his aura started to glistening brighter and brighter. His power was just pouring out, and he just begun. Bardock though just smiled, but Cold continued to transform, but Bardock tried to rush in, but before he could do anything against Cold, he sees Raditz thrown into the room, as well as Nappa. In then walks Ginyu.
"Sorry I beat him bad and bloody. I had no idea though I was interrupting, just bringing Cold what he asked for."
Which in this case, Ginyu knew exactly what he was doing. He was trying to catch Bardock off guard. Bardock did exactly that. He changed focus and dashed in at Ginyu for hurting his son. Ginyu only about 60,000 at this time, didn't much of a chance against the Super Saiyan, but it did give King Cold enough time to transform, and as soon as he does, he rushes in and yanks Bardock up by his neck, choking him. Cold just holds him straight up.
"Your time is up, you monkey!"
But Bardock would use his legs to push off of Cold's chest and then use a ki blast to actually right in Cold's face. This would work in Bardock's favor. Then he knows that he can't fight in this small space, especially not with Ginyu soon about to get up. He flies over and grabs Raditz by his locks of hair and then drags him outside. But followed him was a injured Ginyu and a 100% final form, King Cold. Bardock would throw Raditz, causing him to slide on the ground out of harm's way. King Cold, though, in his final form, wished Ginyu to fight first. Well, this happens, Bardock laughs.
"Well, Cold, if you insist on wasting my time here."
He would then waste no time in darting in at Ginyu. Ginyu would be able to block the first attack, however, Bardock would be able to make quick adjustments and knock Ginyu back towards the ship. Meanwhile, back over closer to the engineering stations, Vegeta and Zorn were taking on Recoome, who is finally woken back up from the fight before. Although still damaged, he is putting up a great fight with Vegeta and Zorn, if not beating them. Vegeta though begins to build up the upper hand because he's not damaged as much as Recoome, with Zorn staying back, shooting blasts, and coming in and punching at the right moments. While Beat stayed away from the fight because he was too scared because he wasn't a fighter. Vegeta and Zorn actually worked very well together and had great sequence together. Recoome was turned sideways. Zorn would then hit 3 ki blasts back to back to an opening on the left side. Vegeta would then come flying in with a double axe handle, hitting Recoome right on the back of the head, causing him to go flying to the ground. Vegeta and Zorn both would start to build up a blast together, and Zorn seemed to fade out of energy. This is when Vegeta then grunts,
"Worthless. Couldn't even finish the job,"
as he lets go of another Gallic gun. This blast was enough to wipe Recoome, leaving him dead. Back into the fight though, Bardock would be staring at Cold, but Cold wouldn't flinch. Bardock then just rushed in. The two seemed to be on equal ground there for a while. The two punches would actually collide over and over, causing Planet Vegeta to shake and the rocks beginning to crumble. But the fight had only just begun. Bardock would fly up into the air as Cold would then follow. Bardock starts shooting rapid ki blasts, but Cold just weaves and dodges them like a game of dodgeball. Bardock then stops retreating and shooting blasts. Bardock stopped and slowly flew to the ground. Once again, Cold would do the same. Bardock starts to speak, but is quickly cut off by King Cold.
It's my turn to speak. Enough games, Bardock. I wish to cleanse this empire, and in doing so, all saiyans must die. Especially after the death of my heir to the throne. You've opened my eyes. This is my universe, and you can be a part of it.
Cold would then start to scream. Ugh! A purple aura starts shooting around him, but Bardock charges in his Super Saiyan transformation to his very max power himself. Yeah! And we'll say after training for the time, it actually took Cold to arrive to the planet. Bardock's power level would actually be right under Goku's when he first got the Super Saiyan transformation, and plus his rage boost maybe had a couple more thousands onto that. While we'll have King Cold in his final form around Frieza's final form, because the only time we see his power is when Trunks easily wipes him out in the Android Saga. So thinking that they're possibly having the same power level, we're just going to put him around 1,200,000. Possibly give him a little bit more as well with his rage boost. Anyway, back over to Ginyu, who was knocked out over King Cold's ship, finally starts to stumble up. And as this happened, Nappa finally crawls out of the ship. Ginyu then thinks to himself that this isn't ideal, but it had very good thought behind it. Ginyu and Nappa would then meet eyes. "Change!" yells out Ginyu. The two are switched. Right when they do, Ginyu looks down at Nappa's body and blows it up, and his former weakened self was destroyed. Ginyu would then start practicing his Nappa voice as Vegeta and Zorn were approaching. Bardock and Cold, on the other hand, were darting into battle even more. But before they did, Bardock built up ki balls in his hands. Cold, though, was not paying attention to Bardock's hand, but still was able to manage to get a hook on Bardock, causing him to spit up saliva and blood. Bardock would then return the favor with a huge knee to the stomach. The two continued back and forth in a brawl. Bardock then slides backwards and shoots himself around Cold, and then grabs his cape, pulls it over his head, and then follows by shooting a blast out of one hand. Ah! The blast actually manages to connect with King Cold. King Cold was stunned from this attack, facing serious damage actually. Bardock then screamed at the top of his lungs, "This ends now!" Bardock powered up his strongest and largest final spirit cannon that he ever has before, and then he launches the blast. Cold, too weakened to even move from the blast, just has to watch as the blast spirals towards his face with nothing to do but take it. The blast eventually reaches King Cold's face, and his body begins to dissolve into the blast. King Cold screams, but has nobody to help him. Bardock then reduces back to his base form and falls to the ground on the verge of death himself from this very hardcore fight, just hoping that someone can help him. Alright guys, that has been part 2 of this video. I plan on making a part 3 very soon, so don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe, and turn on that bell notification so you can get any alerts of videos when I upload. And you guys, I'm going to remind you again, don't forget to join the Discord, and I would also like to thank Storm and Spectrus for helping partake in this video. I was stuck in a couple parts, and they really both helped me out. Alright, this has been DragonStar Productions. I'll see you guys in the next What If. I'm out.